Hello heroes, I'm Katogenesis, and welcome to a guide for each of the 15 Daedric quests you can do and Daedric artifacts you can gain, plus one super powerful optional sword in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. Since you are required to sacrifice one of the artifacts through the main quest, Martin does have something interesting to say about 14 of them, which will be included in this guide too. The 15th of course being the Oghma Infinium, which you can do the quest for after you finish the other 14. If any of the quality of life mods showing in the gameplay interest you, my mod list is in the description. So let's go do those Daedric quests, shall we? West of the Lower Niben, and in between Leowyn and Breville, is the shrine to the Daedric Prince of Madness himself, Sheogorath. The requirements for this quest are to be level 2, and the offering needed is 1 piece of yarn, 1 head of lettuce, and 1 lesser soul gem. All of these things you can find in basically any town. They're pretty mundane items, except for maybe the soul gems, which you can probably find in the Mages Guild. Bring your offerings up to the shrine, and Sheogorath will give you the task of heading to Border Watch and fulfilling the Kashara prophecy. Border Watch ends up being a fair jaunt south of the shrine, and when you get here, you'll probably want to seek out Ribasa first. The shaman of the village, easy enough to spot because he's the only one wearing black robes. And you can ask him right off the bat what the Kashara prophecy is. We find out the Kashara prophecy foretold 3 signs that they would experience before the end of days. First, being a plague of vermin. Second, being a plague of famine. And third, the plague of fear, which Ribasa doesn't even want to reveal at this point. So we're on to the first of the plagues. That would be the plague of vermin. What you'll need for this is some wicked smelly cheese. And it just so happens that Sathasa, the innkeeper of the town, is the cheesiest Khajiit you'll meet, and the prize of her collection, the Oroi cheese, stinks really bad. These are safely locked up in glass cases though, so you'll need to exercise a high security skill, or pick Sathasa's pockets, or kill her for the key. Get inside the smaller case that contains the Oroi cheese, pick it up, and take it outside. If asked about it, Sathasa would have said that she dare not try cooking with it because it will draw rats for miles. So if you take the Oroi cheese and place it into the cooking pot outside that's above the campfire, you will in fact draw rats for miles. And that's one of the signs of prophecy down. After a little bit of time with the rats wandering around, Ribasa will take things into his own hands and place out some rat poison, which you can then take for the next sign. It's very simple. Since famine was the second sign with a particular focus on their livestock, the origin of sign 2 will be in the sheep pen. You can then take the rat poison we picked up and place it into the sheep's feeding trough. After a minute or two, surprise, all the sheep will fall down dead. Sheogorath will tell you how good of a job you've done so far, but now it's time for him to work his mad god magic, and you can head to the center of town to witness the 3rd plague of the Kashara prophecy. After successfully traumatizing an entire village of Khajiit, you can head back to the shrine of Sheogorath, where it will obtain the first artifact on this list, the staff known as Wabbajack.
Good riddance to this tool of mischief.
This is a bit of a charge-hungry staff because it only comes with 10 uses, but when the Wabbajack is used on a creature, it can transform into another creature for 30 seconds. And we're specifying creature because it doesn't work on any of the playable races. Possible transformations include turning into a rat, a Zivalai, a deer, a sheep, an ogre, a troll, a goblin skirmisher, a skeleton champion, or a Daedroth, for a full 30 seconds before turning back or reverting back on death. But be warned, when it does change forms, it does go back to maximum HP unless it's dead. Using the staff is a gamble, but when you can turn an ogre into a deer, or a troll into a sheep, or some similar strong enemy into a weaker enemy, shows the fun factor as well as utility you can possibly get from this staff. To find the shrine of the Daedric Prince of Dusk and Dawn, you'll need to travel north from Cheydinhal, and after passing Lake Arius and heading into the snow-dusted mountains, you should stumble upon Azura's shrine. Now, the offering for Azura does not really match the level requirement, which is level 2, because the offering she needs is glow dust, which comes from will-o-wisps, which I don't believe appear until level 9. Fortunately though, glow dust is an alchemy ingredient, and you can find it laying out in the Bruma Mages Guild in the basement near the alchemy stuff, very technical term, alchemy stuff, or you can go to somewhere like the main ingredient alchemy shop in the Imperial City and purchase some glow dust. Once you have the offering needed, you need to only wait between 5 and 7 p.m. and 5 and 7 a.m., which is dawn and dusk, and make your offering to Azura then. She'll share with you the plight of her followers, 5 of them, who defeated a vampire in the past but succumbed to vampirism themselves. She's asking as a favor to them them and to her to put them out of their misery. The location she sends you to is Gutted Mine, just to the southwest, and the entrance will now be open where previously it was not. Even though they were servants of Azura, they are vampires now and will be aggressive and defend themselves against you. In fact, this is not really much different from going to a random dungeon and fighting vampires, except that these vampires are marked by the quest, so you shouldn't have any trouble actually finding them, even if they do like to turn invisible. And after your extermination spree, you can leave, head back to Azura's shrine, where you'll now find 5 candles burning in the memory of those 5 followers, and you will receive Azura's star.
Ah, Azura's star, as beautiful as all the tales tell.
Which is arguably one of the best Daedric artifacts in the Elder Scrolls. If you've used this in Skyrim, you already know why. If not, you're in for a treat. At a weight of 0.7, Azura's Star is an infinitely reusable Grand Soul Gem. And if you couple this with a Soul Trap spell or Soul Trapping weapon, your enchanted weapons will stay charged, no problem. And as a result, you won't have to lug around the majority of the Soul Gems you're carrying anymore. Since we did just take care of vampires, this is your friendly reminder to check your active effects for porphyric hemophilia, which is the disease that will turn you into a vampire in 3 days. If that's something you don't want, you can get a blessing at the Cheydinhal Temple to get rid of it. East of Bruma, across the Silver Road, will be the Shrine of Namira, the Daedric Prince of all things repulsive and disgusting. The required level for Namira's quest will be 5, and the offering is what will take the most work with this quest, not the quest itself, because you'll need to reduce your personality to under 20. We're not just turning off the charm here, we're reversing it, just to be repulsive for a little bit. And there's a few ways to do this without any permanent damage. You can find some cheap wine in a cellar or from an innkeeper, which lowers your personality by 10 per bottle, or if you've gained entry into the Arcane University and have access to spellmaking, you can make a self-cast drain or damage personality spell that you probably won't use on anything else except this quest. You'll know you've done a good job when you speak to the leader of the worshippers here, Ylfrodi the Harrier, because she looks like a bird, I guess, and she'll be grateful that you repulse her now. Then you can commune with Namira, who will have another job related to some worshippers that need your help. These followers were content in worshipping their lord Namira in the darkness and filth of a dungeon called Anga, but some priests of Arche have arrived to mess everything up and need to be killed. Namira gives you a spell called Namira's Shroud and sends you to the Ayleid ruin to the south, Anga. When you arrive, you'll probably realize that there was no exaggeration when it came to how dark this dungeon is and how much the priests of Arche are messing with that vibe. This doesn't seem to matter whether you're holding a torch or not, but casting Namira's Shroud on these priests will put out their torch, letting Namira's faithful take care of business. After all the priests are dealt with and the followers go back to their wretched existence, return to Namira's shrine, well, she will thank you in the form of the Ring of Namira.
I'll sleep better once this keepsake of Namira is gone from my possession. A good choice for our purpose, though.
A wonderfully powerful little piece of jewelry that weighs 1 and comes with 2 enchantments. A Reflect Damage 12% enchantment, which applies to physical damage, and a Reflect Spell Damage 10%, which obviously affects spell damage. A great way of denying damage and biting back at the same time. As a reminder too, this enchantment does not scale. So what I'm saying is there's no reason you shouldn't get the Ring of Namira. That's too many negatives. I'm saying you should get the Ring of Namira as soon as possible, which is level 5. The Shrine of the Weaver of Dreams, Vaermina, is southwest of Cheydinhal, right by Lake Popid. And to start this Daedric Prince's quest, the requirements are level 5 and a black soul gem. And if you don't have one already, tracking down an offering may take longer than the quest itself. You may have come across a few of these during the Arcane University's quests in thwarting the necromancers of the area, or just fighting necromancers in general with a small chance of a black soul gem dropping. But if you haven't gotten one and don't feel like doing all the Mage Guild stuff, here's a method to make your own. First, ensure that you have a Grand Soul Gem in your inventory, which you can get from most magical vendors, as well as a Soul Trap spell, which is also sold by numerous spell merchants. Then you'll need to go to an altar in one of 4 locations: Fort Istrius, Fort Linkall, the Dark Fisher, or Wendelbeck. All 4 of these locations have a Necromancer's altar, and from the start of the game, every 8 days will be the Day of the Revenant Shade. When the day arrives, a beacon of light will be showing on the altar. That is the signal to place the Grand Soul Gem inside of the altar and cast Soul Trap on it. This ritual will transform the Grand Soul Gem into a Black Soul Gem. Head back to Vaermina's shrine and present the Black Soul Gem, and she'll share with you that she knows you already through your dreams. The tasks she presents to you is to track down a wizard named Arkved, who has in his possession the Orb of Vaermina. You are directed to Arkved's tower that is to the southwest. And on the outside, it appears to be another ruined tower, But on the inside, reality quickly starts to unravel. Between the Daedra you gotta fight off, the Room of Ceaseless Void, where one misstep can mean your end, blood-filled hallways, and most horrifying of all, giant furniture. It's a bit of a labyrinth, but you don't have to travel far to reach a dead end, and after taking in the scenery of dreams invading reality and pushing forth because you're brave and stuff, you'll eventually come upon Arkved's death quarters, where you'll find Arkved sleeping. Retrieve the Orb of Vaermina, which looks like an extra shiny crystal ball, from the table, and head out the door. Return to Vaermina, give her the orb, and she'll reward you with the staff known as the Skull of Corruption.
The world will be better off with this foul thing gone from it.
This one's a little less charge intensive, with 20 uses instead of 10, and the spell effect that the staff throws out is certainly one of a kind. When cast at a target, it creates a corrupted double of them, which attacks them for 20 to 30 seconds, after which they will disappear. And it does seem like only one double can be active at a time. This will certainly be a nightmare for those you cast it on, though. So that's another Daedric staff added to the collection. To find the Shrine of the Daedric Prince of Debauchery, you'll need to head north from Skingrad into the Imperial Reserve area. The level requirement for this quest is 8, and the offering you'll need for Sanguine will be a bottle of Cyrodiilic brandy, which, if you don't have it, you can grab one in Skingrad, maybe through purchase from the alchemy shop called All Things Alchemical, or across the street from that shop, you can go into Lazaire Milvain's house, break into his room upstairs, and take it from the table. However you got it, present this offering to Sanguine, and he'll give you a mission all the way over in Leowen to make the exceptionally boring dinner parties at Leowen Castle a bit more interesting, through use of the spell that Sanguine gives you, Stark Reality. The thing is, though, this is an exclusive party, and you have to look like a partygoer or sweet talk your way in. Due to the hero's profession, you may not have any fine clothing, so if you are lacking in that department, there are clothing stores around Cyrodiil. You can also find fine clothing in places you've already made friends with, like the Mages Guild in Leowen. So if you have something like the blue velvet outfit with some blue suede shoes and perhaps some jewelry, you should be able to get in. Oddly enough, though, if you also are wearing the arena raiment or the relics of the Crusader, which completely go against the dress code, you can also gain entry for some reason. If in spite of this you go into Leowen Castle, head forward to the throne room and take your first right, you'll see a guard at the door for the dinner party, which will occur around 6 p.m. If there was no prep done whatsoever, that's fine too. You can just raise his disposition through the persuasion minigame. If it's past 70, you should be able to get in because you're best friends now. However you get into the dinner party, now it's showtime. The Countess and her dinner party guests should be gathered around the table, and casting Stark Reality on the Countess herself should cause it to affect the rest of the partygoers as well, because the requirement is that you have to use Stark Reality on everyone at the party, not just her. And then you get to see firsthand that Stark Reality strips the clothes off of all of the party guests as well as the Countess and yourself. You'll notice that your stuff is all missing as well. Now's the time to mention too that this spell counts as assault, because it does a tiny amount of damage. With your items missing, including your gold, you'll have the option of going directly to jail or trying to outrun the guards. Whatever you choose, after you get out of Leowen and return to Sanguine's shrine, he will congratulate you on making things more interesting and hand you the Sanguine Rose.
I never thought to see this again. I once possessed it, briefly. A lifetime ago, it seems now. To obtain it and then give it up, I honor your dedication to our cause.
Your missing items will also be in the chest nearby. The Sanguine Rose is yet another staff, but this one is probably the most damaging of the three, to both the player and the target, potentially, because when cast on a non-player character, this staff creates a random Daedra that may fight for the target or may fight for the hero. The summons do last about 20 seconds, so if the Daedra summoned is targeting you, you can simply run away for that 20 seconds and then maybe try again or put the staff away. The invisibility spell works pretty well in tandem with this staff, because if the Daedra is going to target you, you can just disappear and wait out the 20 seconds, or maybe just watch them find another target since they can't find you. Onward to the Daedric Prince of Night and Darkness. This Shrine of Nocturnal is north of Leowen and east of the Lower Niben along the road. You'll need to be level 10 to commune with Nocturnal, but no offering is required. Perhaps because she needs your help post-haste. As the quest goes, Nocturnal's eye, or the Eye of Nocturnal, has been stolen, and 2 Argonians in Leyawiin are responsible for this. So the next step is heading into town and perhaps talking to one of the guards and asking about the happenings around Leyawiin, because it doesn't seem like these Argonians have been very tight-lipped about their score. You should then have a name to the culprits, Wabbajack and Bajin. Continue the conversation asking about either one of them, and you should be given directions to their house. If you ask either of them about the Eye of Nocturnal, they will get incredibly defensive and say that the other doesn't know anything either. Suspicious indeed. After asking them about the Eye of Nocturnal, Bajin should approach Wabbajack and ask about if the trolls find it. And if you're not detected by either of them, Wabbajack will casually drop the location, Tidewater Cave, which is southeast of town along the shore. Now, Bajin was worried about trolls, and rightfully so. This cave does have trolls in it, but you shouldn't have to fight too many of them if you don't want to. To find the eye, you'll want to go straight ahead and take your first left, then the following left and down into the water. Straight ahead, you should see a big old glowing artifact, which is the Eye of Nocturnal. After that is retrieved, you can head directly back to Nocturnal's shrine, and in return for delivering the Eye of Nocturnal, you will receive the skeleton key.
The merchants of Cyrodiil would sleep more soundly, knowing this key is gone from the world. But why tell them?
An unbreakable lockpick that, if kept in your inventory, also raises your security skill by 40. If you find yourself inconvenienced or annoyed by the tumbler lockpicking minigame, with this artifact you can just mash the auto attempt button until you succeed. And if there were any downsides to the skeleton key, it doesn't really count as a lockpick, so you get it taken from your inventory if you get arrested, and you get that one single lockpick chance. Aside from that though, this bypasses one of the most tedious parts of Oblivion, and is a must-have in my mind. So enjoy mashing your way through those hard and very hard locks. We're on to the Daedric Prince of Order, whose shrine can be found along the Silverfish River, east of Niben Bay. The only requirement for this quest is to be level 10. Like Nocturnal, no offering is required, but don't get used to it. When approaching Peryite's shrine, you'll see 5 of Peryite's followers just standing there, motionless and unresponsive. Approach the shrine and Peryite will tell you exactly why. These embarrassments, as the prince says, cast a spell in hopes that they could get closer to their lord. The unforeseen consequence at the time was that their souls were ripped from their bodies and now sit on the plane of Oblivion, waiting for a protagonist to bail them out. After telling you this, Peryite will give you the chance to prepare yourself before being transported to the plane of Oblivion. This is a bit different than other Oblivion runs, because you have 5 objectives to find in this plane, and you're not working towards a sigil stone, but instead a sweet Daedric artifact. As expected, you'll be encountering Daedra along the way, and it's your choice whether you want to fight them or avoid them, but there will be a lot in the area. When you methodically locate each of the souls, they will of course disappear when you make an attempt to speak with them, leaving us to assume that they went back to their proper plane. After the souls of all 5 followers have been found, a gateway will appear with which you can return. So speaking to Peryite again through the shrine, the prince will thank you and will grant you a boon in the form of the Spellbreaker.
Not many people would give up Spellbreaker for destruction, my friend. Your sacrifice honors me.
A heavy Dwemer shield with a weight of 18, a base armor of 17, and the enchantment Reflect Spell 30%. If spellcasters have been troubling up until this point, the Spellbreaker will let you close the gap a lot easier to take them out swiftly. Don't forget we also covered the Ring of Namira, which is another 10% spell reflect. So with this as your topper, you will pose a great danger to any spellcasters who look at you the wrong way. The shrine to the Daedric Prince of Vengeance can be found north of Anvil near the Brenna River. To begin Malacath's quest, you'll need to have a troll fat for your offering, as well as be level 10. When given, Malacath will kind of thank you and call you smart for bringing a gift. Malacath then presents the task of saving his ogre brethren, who've been enslaved to work the mines of Lord Drad. Lord Drad's estate is actually just southeast of Malacath's shrine. Strolling over to Lord Drad's estate, and in spite of possibly being breaking and entering, he should still speak to you as if you were a guest. In dialogue, you can come right out and ask him about his ogre slaves, and argue that no creature should be enslaved like that. But because they are ogres, there's no imperial law stating that they can't. If you also speak to Lady Drad and persuade her to open up a little bit more about the ogre slaves, she will divulge that they are working at Bleak Mine, under guard. And Bleak Mine is just on the other side of the garden. The key to the mine is inside the house, just inside the front door on a small table, but the door to the mine is an easy level lock, and if you have the skeleton key already, this won't be a problem at all. All the guards in here are not outwardly hostile towards you, they will become hostile towards the ogres once you free them. And if too many ogres die from the guards, you will fail the quest. The method I used for this one is simply, once I freed the second group of ogres, just ran immediately for the exit, and everything seemed to work out. The method is definitely up to you, just make sure not too many ogres die if you stick around. After you've freed all of the ogres, you can head back out of the mine and return to Malacath's shrine to receive your reward, the two-handed hammer known as Volendrung.
Who now knows the tale of how this Dwemer hammer came to embody the power of one of their most bitter foes?
This has a base damage of 20 and a weight of 60, and its enchantments include a paralysis for 3 seconds on strike and drain health for 5 points for 20 seconds on strike. This is truly a devastating weapon to a single target, but it does only have 16 uses before it needs recharging, so I would keep this around for particularly difficult enemies if you can justify the 60 encumbrance it takes up. West of Skingrad is the Shrine of the Lady of Infinite Energies, and to start Meridia's quest, you'll need to bring
a new hand.
No.
A new
Meridia, please.
touch it.
Please, Meridia, please. Thank you. You won't need a beacon this time to get her attention. Your options on offerings all follow the same theme: bone meal, mort flesh, or ectoplasm, and be level 10. Present your offering and Meridia will speak to you, saying how much she detests the undead, and especially those who meddle with the undead necromancers. Your task here is to simply go to Howling Cave and destroy the necromancers within with extreme prejudice. Howling Cave actually ends up being on the opposite side of Skingrad, towards the east and south of the Gold Road. The outside of this cave is particularly fancy, marked with a brazier of burning blue flame. But the inside, unfortunately, just looks like a mine, until you find the secret passage in the back leading to Howling Cave lower galleries. Then it starts to look a bit more necromancer-y. Beware that once you do enter this gallery, necromancers and autonomous undead will be probably pretty close to the entrance, and unless you're incredibly stealthy, will probably kick off a fight immediately. After you've taken out the necromancers and their supposed minions, you can head back out and return to Meridia's shrine to be congratulated on a job well done and rewarded with the Ring of Khajiiti.
Thieves everywhere will curse us both for the loss of this ring, my friend. So be it.
This enchanted ring has a weight of 1, and its enchantments are Chameleon 35% and Fortify Speed 10 points. If sneaking is the thing for you, this will make you much harder to see and a little bit faster. The Shrine of the Web Spinner is located northeast of the Imperial City and south of the Shrine of Namira. The quest for Mephala requires you to be level 15 and bring a tribute of Nightshade. This is a fairly common alchemical ingredient, and you should find it at somewhere like the main ingredient in the Imperial City. Place the Nightshade at the altar between the hours of midnight and dawn, and Mephala will have need of you. Your task will be to head to Bleaker's Way, a village on the other side of the Silver Road to the west. The settlement has 2 Nord and Dunmer families living in peace. Mephala's task to you is to make it unpeaceful. To do that, it'll be some good old-fashioned murdering. So after you arrive in the town, it'll first be your objective to find out who the leaders of town are, which you can find out by asking basically anybody about Bleaker's Way and its history. Then you'll get the names Hrol Ulfgar and Nivan Davalu. If you find Hrol Ulfgar's house, in the upstairs room there will be a small table with a book on it, as well as the Ulfgar family ring. That's one of 2 pieces of evidence needed. Now we do the same thing in Nivan Davalu's house, which is the one towards the center of town. Once you enter, on a small table off to the right will be the Davalu ceremonial dagger. Now you'll just need to wait for the opportune time to assassinate the leaders quietly. The routines of the 2 leaders does include them returning to their houses occasionally during the day, often by themselves, so that's when you can take the opportunity to take them out quietly. So once Nivan is dead, you'll want to place the Ulfgar family ring on his body, and when Hrol Ulfgar is dead, you'll want to place a ceremonial dagger on his corpse. After planting both pieces of evidence and stepping outside, you can then speak to whoever's closest to you and ask them about what they think about Nivan and Hrol being dead, and after that point, a fight should break out between everybody in town. After committing the most heinous of murders and framing both families, return to Mephala's shrine. She will mention how great it is to see friends go to war with each other before giving you the Ebony Blade.
I wonder if Mephala herself knows how many lives this foul blade has taken over the years. I will be glad to give the world a respite from it.
This one-handed sword has a weight of 46 and a base damage of 23, with a couple of pretty powerful enchantments to boot: absorb health 8 points on strike and silence on strike. There are 2 more one-handed blades coming up on the list that are stronger base damage-wise than the sword that we'll get to later, but its mage slaying utility does make it useful for keeping around. To locate the Lord of the Hunt's shrine, you'll find it in the Nibene Valley north of Breville. Once you've reached level 17 and present a wolf pelt or bear pelt, Hircine will speak to you. I'm going to keep going under the assumption that you know where to get a wolf or bear pelt because they are all over the wilderness. Hircine will present you with the task of a hunt. Surprising. You must go to Hircine Grove, where there is, quote, a quarry worthy of the chase. You will be hunting a unicorn and bringing its horn back to the shrine. Sadly, there is no catch and release situation, so head to Hircine Grove, which is south of the shrine, where you will not only find the unicorn, but also minotaurs willing to defend the unicorn. Seeing as the unicorn is a horse also, you can ride it away before you take its life. And I don't know if that's more awful or more funny, since you could basically ride the unicorn all the way back to the shrine and have the other followers of Hircine help you with the fight. After successfully defeating the unicorn and or its minotaur guards, return the unicorn's horn to the shrine of Hircine, and he'll ask if you had a chance to taste its blood as well. You'll be rewarded with some of the best light armor in the game, known as the Savior's Hide.
There is no disguising the bestial nature of some of the Daedric princes.
It has a weight of 3 and a base armor of 12, with the additional enchantment of resist magic by 25%. Just a fantastically useful piece of armor all around. When looking for the Shrine of the Lord of Domination, you'll find this one in between the cities of Skingrad and Coral, within the Great Forest. To begin Molag Bal's quest, you will need to be level 17 and bring a lion pelt for offering, which you can get from mountain lions that like to hang out around the Gerald Mountains and Gold Coast, or you can go to a general goods merchant in any of the cities and they might have a lion pelt for sale. Either way, present said lion's pelt to Molag Bal's shrine, and you will be commanded to bring suffering and death to one man in particular. You'll be sent to a place called Brindleholm, a small village, and find a man named Melis Petilius. Your quest is to let this man kill you with the cursed mace that Molag Bal gives you. Brindleholm is just to the southwest of the Shrine of Molag Bal, and when you get there, you can talk to other villagers in the area, gain their trust through persuasion or charm, and get more information about where Melis Petilius, well, lives, for one, and maybe a bit of his backstory for some hints on how to approach this. This may prove a bit challenging, as he vowed to never pick up a weapon again after his wife died while he was gone off fighting something to protect the village. So you probably start getting an idea of what's going to happen. You're gonna be a terrible person. Once a day, at 10 a.m., Melis Petilius goes to his wife's grave, and that is the peak moment to disrespect him. In order to get him to attack you with the mace, you must drop it at his feet and then attack him, ideally with something that won't one-shot him. He will call you a devil, rightfully deserved, and then, hopefully, pick up the mace and start using it on you. It's a good time to ensure that you don't have any reflect gear on too, because you do want him to survive the encounter. After your health drops to 0, you'll be teleported immediately back to Molag Bal's shrine. Commune with him again, and he'll gloat, of course, and give you your prize, the Mace of Molag Bal.
A fearsome weapon and steeped in the ancient evil of its master. May its deadly power turn good for once.
This wicked-looking Daedric mace has a weight of 45 and a base damage of 21. It has 2 enchantments, absorb strength 5 points and absorb magicka 5 points per strike, and 44 uses at full charge. And because this is absorb instead of drain, you're actually getting those resources too. So your strength will be increasing as theirs decreases. So you tell me, was it worth the cost? In the Volus Mountains, southeast of Cheydinhal, is where you can find the Shrine of the Daedric Prince of Deceit. Among the higher requirements now, this one requires you to be level 20 and have a Daedra heart ready to present as an offering. If you've made it to level 20 and closed at least a couple of Oblivion gates, you should have had access to at least one Daedra heart or 2. Now, if you used them up in alchemy, or sold them, or just didn't bother picking them up because they're fairly heavy in stacks, you should be able to purchase a Daedra heart from an alchemy shop. Offer the Daedra heart up to Boethia, and you'll be immediately recognized as someone who's not a follower, but you can still prove yourself through combat. And this combat will be a multi-stage arena battle in the Tournament of 10 Bloods within one of Boethia's realms in Oblivion. The portal will be open to you, but it will be best to prepare and save before you enter, because you cannot leave until your last opponent, the 9th one, falls. Each of the arenas are separate rooms separated through gates, so in between fights you will be able to wait to recover your health, magicka, and fatigue before jumping into the next round. It took me a while to realize that since this is the Tournament of the 10 Bloods, that means that there is 10 competitors, one of each of the playable races. So if the character you're playing is, say, an Imperial, you won't be fighting another Imperial, but the other 9 races you didn't choose. That makes it difficult for me to help you strategically, but I will mention that some of the competitors seem to have a reflect aura about a third of the way into the tournament. So if you're a heavy magic user, you may have some of that reflected back at you. I also realized the lava surrounding the island can be used as a weapon as well, because the Nord competitor in my game decided to fall right in and die. Once all 9 of the other competitors are dead, Boethia will congratulate you and open up a portal to return to the mortal realm. Back on this plane, when you speak to Boethia through the shrine, you will be referred to as the Chosen One, and rewarded with one of the most powerful one-handed swords in the entire game, the Gold Brand.
This blade has slain many a hero over the years. Tamriel will be better off without it for a while.
This weighs 52 and has a base damage of 25, but also comes with a fire enchantment that deals 22 points of fire damage on strike and has 76 charges, letting you dish out plenty of pain before it needs recharged. This, used in combination with, say, a fire weakness spell or a magical weakness spell, can make its powerful enchantment that much more devastating to enemies. But the Gold Brand in experienced hands will do just fine without. When searching for the Daedric Prince of Bargains, you'll be able to find his shrine southwest of the Imperial City, near the entrance to the Gold Road. To begin the quest for Clavicus Vial, you'll need to be level 20 and have 500 gold ready to spend on a bargain, of the Daedric variety, to be clear. Deposit the 500 gold at the shrine, and Clavicus will immediately launch into a sales pitch. In this quest, you must retrieve a sword. Not just any sword, but Umbra. And if you bring it back, Clavicus will give you in trade the Masque of Clavicus Vial. You are sent to Pell's Gate, east across the river, to begin your search. On your way there, however, you'll hear another voice speaking to you, and it will be the voice of Barbas, Clavicus's longtime companion, telling you not to retrieve the sword and give it to Clavicus Vial, and instead to just walk away. But the real option here is to either A, keep the sword to yourself, or B, retrieve the sword, give it to Clavicus Vial, and get the mask. But first we'll need to find out where Umbra is, and to start you on your trail, you can speak to Irok the Wide at Pell's Gate. After working your persuasion or charm on him a little bit, he'll be willing to share what he knows of Umbra, the sword, and the person, formerly known as Lenwyn. After getting a little more context, you can then ask Irok where he saw her last, or if he's seen her, and he'll reply with, quote, some, end quote, say they've seen her nearby. Some being the mysterious game pushing you in the right direction. And the right direction is Vindasal Ruins, a Ayleid ruin. These likely would have been ruins you have already wandered by on the way to Pell's Gate, because it is in between Pell's Gate and the Shrine of Clavicus Vial. The ruin pretty much consists of 3 large chambers, one leading into the next with not much adversity until the final room, of course, where you come face to face with Umbra, the sword, and the person. Just like with Barbas, you may get the idea that Umbra just wants you to leave too. And you totally can, and the quest can complete that way, but why would you want to leave empty-handed after spending 500 gold? It is possible that this will be a tough fight though, so be prepared for that. When Umbra is defeated, you'll be able to get both the Umbra sword as well as Umbra's full set of ebony armor. So if you needed a heavy armor upgrade, you're getting that too. After you've retrieved the Umbra sword and return to Clavicus Vial's shrine, you then have your decision to make. Keep or trade. So now we'll go over the stats of each item to help make that decision. If you trade Umbra, you'll get the Masque of Clavicus Vial.
Ah, the Masque of Clavicus Vial. You are wise not to let yourself get further enmeshed in his plots.
Which is a heavy armor helmet with a base armor of 7.5 and a weight of 15. The defense stats being the same as Daedric helmets, but the Masque of Clavicus Vial is actually a little bit heavier. The enchantment on this helmet grants a Fortify personality of 20 points. So convincing others to see things your way will be easier if you're wearing this mask. But seeing as there's numerous ways to do that, it kind of falls on the low end of usefulness when it comes to Daedric artifacts. But speaking of, out of the 2 choices, the mask is the Daedric artifact, the sword is not one. one. So when you need something to give to Martin in the main story, the Masque of Clavicus Vial is actually probably one of the best choices for that. But now we move on to the sword. If you refuse Clavicus and just keep the sword for yourself, you will feel the power in your hand with a weight of 45 and a base damage of 28. This is the strongest one-handed sword in the entire game, add-ons included. It has a Soul Trap enchantment that lasts for 120 seconds on strike and has 125 uses until it needs recharged. Umbra is pure slaughter in blade form. So, the choice is yours. We finally end with the Daedric Prince of Knowledge and Memory. Hermaeus Mora's shrine is far to the west of Bruma, almost bordering Skyrim. Speaking with Hermaeus Mora has the greatest of requirements out of basically all the quests in the game, because you'll need to have done 3 separate things. First, be a minimum level of 20. Second, complete all 14 of the other Daedric quests. And third, sacrifice one of your Daedric artifacts to Martin in Blood of the Daedra. After those 3 things are done, upon activating Hermaeus Mora's shrine, he'll be aware that you helped out his brethren, and now would like you to help out his followers perform a divination. And in order to do this, you'll need the souls of each of the sentient races, each of the playable races, in other words. Hermaeus Mora will also give you a special soul gem, as well as a soul trap spell specific for this task. I'd like to mention here that it may be worth saving before you carry out this soul harvest, because sometimes the soul capture doesn't seem to register, and this spell is a projectile instead of on touch, and it can be unwieldy to use because of that. So for this, you could just go to a town and, well, go to town, hopefully getting the souls that you need. But if you're after the efficient route with minimal collateral damage, that would just be visiting multiple of the shrines you've already been to and taking out some of the followers of the other Daedric princes, including, hilariously, Hermaeus Mora's shrine. If you use Mora's soul trap on the 3 followers at his shrine, you will have a Khajiit, Dunmer, and Imperial soul to start with. From here, you can go to Clavicus Vial's shrine, southwest of the Imperial City, to get a Bosmer and Orc soul. Then back to along the Silverfish River, at Peryite's shrine, you can get the souls of a Argonian, an Altmer, a Nord, and a Redguard. Then your final stop will be the shrine of Sheogorath north of Leowyn for the soul of a Breton. If all the soul traps registered with the quest as they're supposed to, you can then return to Hermaeus Mora to receive the Oghma Infinium. This is a one-time use book that, when read, adds a permanent +10 to a cluster of skills and attributes. The choices you get, though, are kind of annoyingly vague, so I'm going to go over what these paths boost as well. If you take the Path of Steel, it gives you a permanent boost to Blade, Blunt, Heavy Armor, Speed, and Strength by 10. If you choose the Path of Shadow, it's Sneak, Security, Light Armor, Agility, and Speed. If the Path of the Spirit, it's Destruction, Conjuration, Restoration, and Intelligence. The cool thing about the Oghma Infinium is it also lets you break the 100 cap on skills and attributes. So if you are all about min-maxing, having the attributes you want to increase already at 100 will put them at 110. Keep in mind that while attributes do get a noticeable change after breaking 100, skills don't unless it's acrobatics and athletics. So for the purpose of raising above 100, I'd recommend just looking at the speed, strength, agility, and intelligence boosts instead. But yeah, make your choice, and the Oghma Infinium disappears. So now I'd like to learn from you, what is your favorite Daedric artifact in The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, as well as which artifact did you choose to sacrifice for the main quest? Please share in the comments below. And if you're not tired of Oblivion content just yet, there's a tips and tricks I made as well that you can find here. If you found this guide useful, entertaining, or both, please do whatever it is you see fit to show that. Among the things you can do is by supporting on Patreon, like the amazing patrons on screen now, including Wasteland Legends, Sven, and David Hoover. I'd like to thank you so very much for watching. I am Kato Genesis, and may you wander Cyrodiil like you own it.